Hello. Happy to be back home. So Berlin, 2014, Germany. I was seated in a cafe having a cup of hot chocolate, and I got into a conversation with a German lady. She must have been around 45, 50 years old. And as usual, the question was, where are you from? And I said, Nigeria, with a lot of confidence. Nigeria. And she said, oh, Nigeria. And when a foreigner gives you that expression, oh, Nigeria, the stereotype starts ringing in your head. Like, oh, maybe she thinks one of those internet fraudsters. Oh, no, I have a beard. Probably I'm Boko Haram, right? So, but then, interestingly, she mentioned Okocha, Kanu, Tijani. And I was like, yes, that's more like it. But then as the conversation went on, she said another thing. And she said, about corruption in Nigeria. And I was like, there I thought we were getting somewhere. And now the stereotypes came back. And I said, what about corruption? And she said, it's mind-boggling. Is it really true, the kind of money that we hear that people steal in Nigeria? Like, why would anyone need to steal that kind of money? Like, to her, from what I got from her was the only reason why anyone would steal that kind of money is greed. All right? Which brings us to the question of what is corruption? There's a popular definition of what corruption is, that it is the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. And when you hear this definition, what comes to your mind ordinarily when you hear corruption is somebody collecting bribe. You see that picture of someone collecting bribe or offering bribe, or someone sitting in his office signing a document to transfer illicit or illegal money to their pockets. By a show of hands, please let me see if that is the picture you get when you hear corruption. Raise your hand if that is the picture you get when you hear corruption. Someone offering a bribe, someone collecting a bribe. So, a number of us. It is very normal to think that way. But truly, is that really what corruption is? No. That is not what corruption is. Do you know what corruption is? Corruption is 58,000 women dying needlessly in Nigeria. Corruption is 13 million out of school children. That is what corruption is. 13 million. More than 4 times the population of Botswana. Corruption is a child dying every 20 seconds to a preventable disease in this country. So it is not just you thinking about someone stuffing his pockets, offering bribe or collecting bribes. It is way beyond that. And I want us to take a second to internalize this, to introspect, to think deeply about this. And what you realize while you're doing this is that you are having a change in mindset because you're seeing it from a deeper perspective, and that is why we're here. So back to the German lady. Why do these people engage in corruption? Is it greed? What was my response? As Nigerians, they say, we answer questions with questions. So it was my turn to ask the questions. I told her, so I get your point. I know where you're coming from. However, I want to ask you a few questions. You're German, right? She said, yes. You have good health care? She said, yes. You have health insurance? She said, yes. Do you have to travel abroad to get quality health care? She said, no, we have some of the best hospitals in the world. Do you have to send your kids abroad to study? No, we have some of the best universities in the world. Do you earn a good living? Would you say an average German earns a good living? She said, yes, of course. Do you feel safe? Or do you feel threatened all the time? She said, no, this is quite a safe country. The crime rate is very low. And then I said to her, so you see, if you ask an average Nigerian these same questions, they won't be able to answer yes. And she was quiet. For a few seconds, she was quiet. Which brings me to a theory called the fraud triangle. And what is the fraud triangle? The theory tries to explain the reason behind people engaging in fraud, or in this case, corruption. 1, pressure, financial pressure. So you work in a ministry in Abuja as a graduate, and you earn between 50 to 60,000 naira a month. That is less than $200 a month. Clearly, that is not enough for you to pay your bills, to feed, clothe, and transport yourself monthly. On top of that, you work in an organization that has a lot of loopholes, that it is possible for you to perpetrate fraud and get away with it. Especially if you have the support of your colleagues who will cover your tracks. Thirdly, you are able to rationalize. You are able to rationalize this fraud. You tell yourself that, well, I don't earn enough. Every other person is doing it. I won't get caught. And you're in a society that promotes corruption. A society that celebrates people who are corrupt. A society that sees people that are corrupt as smart people and see those who are not corrupt as dumb people. You are in this society with all these three. Tell me, with all these conditions, who won't be susceptible to corruption? It is unfortunate that the system that we have has not offered an alternative, such that corruption becomes a safety net. Because as human beings, you must attend to your needs, and you will find a way to attend to your needs no matter what. What are you going to tell your kids, your spouse? How are you going to do with healthcare? Where are you going to live? What clothes are you going to wear? You must attend to those needs. And if the system does not offer you, you will find an alternative. And that is what is happening in this country. So what should we do? What should we do? Many successive governments have made a lot of efforts by developing institutions, the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, ICPC, name it, a host of organizations to address corruption in this country. However, one basic thing that I've been missed is that we look at corruption from a very narrow perspective. And this resonates with what the German lady was saying. Because what I got from that conversation was that corruption is simply an issue of greed. Like, you don't need that kind of money. Why would you steal? You have enough. Clearly, she is comfortable. But is that the case in our country? No. So what should we do? As a people, the first thing that we should do is change our minds. Change our mindsets. And when we hear corruption, the first thing that should come to our mind is not just a definition of corruption. It's not just somebody stuffing his pockets. It is the implication of corruption. What does corruption do to our society and our people? It kills people. It undermines the society's goal. It shatters people's dreams. That is what corruption is. And if you're able to internalize this, next time when you hear about corruption, you will see corruption in a different light. Beyond that, it is also important that we look at the factors that lead to corruption. If we don't address those factors, as I mentioned in that fraud triangle, that speaks about some of the major factors that lead to fraud, we won't get anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a wonderful audience. Thank you.